and gentlemen, I have a honor to present quite long presentation of my team about the role of agricultural areas for preservation of mammalian diversity. We are three authors and we are related to different parts of this presentation. And first of all, talking of agriculture, it's not always like I show on the top of the screen. Of course, nowadays it's very intensive, use a lot of chemicals and a lot of mechanical devices. So conflict between mammals and agriculture is inevitable, but it's not always so strong as it may seem. When we look at the world, in brown color, there are most productive areas shown, and in blue color, there are diversity hotspots, and including also the mammalian diversity. So you see these two areas are not corresponding each other. Where the productivity is the best, diversity is not in very good shape. So, in fact, agriculture is really globally important to mammals, but it's also important to humans because it ensures food security and supports over 7 billion people worldwide. So, agriculture is crucial for our economy, and we cannot avoid agriculture because we need production of raw materials. And humans have a key role in managing biological diversity. So we humans are responsible how to get consensus and to use sustainable agricultural practices to mitigate climate change and ensure the long-term health of ecosystem. Very short picture, short comment. Animals, domestic animals were blamed for emission methane and contributing to climate change. Climate change contributes to increased infection of various pathogens, and so it goes in circle. One affects another, and somewhere should be actions taken to make a consensus. Especially earlier, agriculture was listed among the 5 threats to biological diversity. Not sure, can you see my pointer? I am pointing to land and sea use change, where agricultural land is responsible about 80% of the global deforestation. Also, different things are blamed as fault of the agriculture, including diversity, biological diversity. Now, as we look to mammalian richness, and remembering this slide, where brown are most productive areas, it's clear that in most productive areas, mammalian richness is not the highest one. It's not only fault of the agriculture, because human density, human footprint is different across the world, and mammals are the highest animal representatives. We respond to climate change, to agriculture, to cities, roads, and other human activities. But anyway, mammalian richness is highest in the areas where agriculture is not so intensive. So it's a fact. Anyway, we can have positive impacts of agriculture on mammals. I will take 5 examples of this. First is the hedgerows in UK, which support quite diverse mammalian species, including hedgehogs, dormice, bats, providing shelter and food resources for mammals. When it is agroforestry practice in Europe, which integrates trees into agricultural lands, and integrating trees, it's positive, it enhances mammalian diversity by offering habitat for complexity. A good example is rice fields in Asia. Rice paddies provide important habitat for species like water buffalo and various small mammals during non-harvest periods. We have been in rice paddies in Vietnam and in Bali, and presence of various small mammals is quite striking. A lot of let's say rat species are present, but there is a conflict because they eat rice. Next example will be organic farming in Sweden. It was shown that organic farming supports higher small mammal diversity compared to conventional farms, and the last positive impact will be old growth fruit gardens from Lithuania. They are important for various mammals. So, and most of my examples will be related to my native country, Lithuania, which is, let's say, agricultural country. So in England, first of all, hedgehogs. The name of hedgehog is related to hedgerow. So in England, if we straighten all these hedgerows you see in the screen, they will go around the whole Earth about 10 times, so nearly 500,000 kilometers in length. But 50% of them were lost in 5 decades after 40s to 90s because of intensive farming and development. Most of these hedges are not high, from 1 to 6 meters high, and all, but there are some of them that are quite tall. So these hedges gave a very good shelter for amphibians, birds, to make nests and to get shelter, and mammals, including bats. But main mammals which use hedges in England are badger, and small mammals, including dormice, and also hedgehogs. As I said, the name of the animal is related to hedges. Now, if we look at agroforestry of Europe, in southern part, it's quite common, and the European Commission defined agroforestry as a land use system in which trees are grown in combination with agriculture, and they use the same land. Going north, in Europe is not so common, but there are a few good examples. First of all, France, with integrating trees in vineyards and crop fields. I have no picture of this, but in Spain, top one picture. It combines traditional dehesa system with modern agroforestry techniques, and this landscape, to me, as a northern representative, is quite strange. I am not used to that, but it's very good for mammals. In Germany, they use alleys, woody alleys, in crop fields. As you may see in top-down picture, trees are incorporated in corn, in other crops, and also they use silvopasture. And in Italy, olive trees are very important for sustainable land management, because they are not only productive trees, but they also give a good shelter for some animals. Now in Sweden, these three pictures, 3 graphs, show that small mammal diversity is higher in organic farming plots. First of all, mean number of individuals per one crop line or per hectare is much higher in organic plots, especially in grassland habitats. Below, In spring, number of individuals per habitat patch in organic farming is higher. What we say in spring, because winter is a critical period for small mammals because many of them naturally die in winter due to different reasons. So having higher spring density really proves that organic farming is a good habitat. And the number of autumn species, top right part, shows that organic farming supports higher number of species independently of the area of patch, of organic or conventional farming. So agriculture and small mammals should have a balance between damages, because small mammals are main pests, or among the main pests in agriculture, they eat various crops. So balancing between damages and biological diversity. On the top right, I show you cover of the book, which was called Farmer Library. And the book title is Rodents and How to Fight Them. The book was published more than 5 decades earlier. So we show that very negative approach to small mammals in agriculture was taken. And in below that, we see a cover of a policy brief of European Union, which say that conservation of small mammals and associated ecosystems. So position is now cardinally different. Instead of removing small mammals, we are targeted to conserve them and to find their part in agriculture. So we need to take into account habitat fragmentation, because species richness is reduced when we simplify the habitat. So large agricultural fields are not positive to conserving mammalian diversity. We should take into account predation risk, because open fields, that is agricultural fields, they good best exposure to predators, and small mammals can be hunted down by mammalian carnivores and the birds of prey and owls. So we should ensure some kind of shelter. Food availability, of course, in agricultural fields is very high, but it's seasonal. So it benefits certain species, but I should add it benefits only in certain seasons. When crops are taken down, there is no food, or much less food than it was when crops are standing. Now, pesticides. Yes, of course, all of you know what we are using: less pesticides, less herbicides. We are targeting to more friendly agriculture, because pesticides negatively affect small mammals directly, or negatively affect them from the food chain. Especially insectivores like shrews, they suffer because they accumulate pesticides, and their organisms cannot withstand that. Farming cycles are important because they influence reproduction and survival of small mammals. And as I already shown you Swedish example, organic farming is very good for that. So in generally, I show here 5 decades of small mammal composition in Lithuania in different habitats. When we look to agricultural or agro habitats, we can see that Some species like striped field mouse, yellow-necked mouse, or common vole, they benefit from these habitats, but number of other species are really lower. So we explain what was long-term impact of agriculture on small mammal communities. First, it was decrease of insectivores. I mean, fruit here, and they really decreased. And increase of some species of granivores or herbivores, I mean, here small mammals. But in general, looking to fruit gardens, which are not very numerous in Lithuania, but still important. So all fruit gardens are good to support a number of species and species diversity of small mammals. And these fruit gardens are somewhere in the middle between crop fields and forests. And the best habitats like meadows and wetlands, so they are in the middle, so they are considered as a good one. And one of small mammal species, striped field mouse, shown in the picture, increases in many European countries, not only in Lithuania, but in Lithuania, as shown by two graphs on the below left side. Relative abundance is increasing in last decades, nearly 2 times, and the proportion of the species in all small mammal community is also increasing. We cannot 100% say is it impact of climate change or their adaptation to agricultural habitats, perhaps both of them, but the problem of the species increase is really good example what we can face in nearest future. Now we switch to carnivores. Carnivores also are not very compatible with agriculture, in fact. From one side, humans are generating food from omnivorous carnivores. I mean, carnivorous species which use a lot of plant material like badger, bear. But for real carnivores like wolves, for example, and other ones, agriculture is offering easy domestic trade from one side. From other side, agriculture is reducing wild trade availability, and for this large carnivores are doing damages. They prey on domestic animals. But why killing of large carnivores is not the only option? If you look to the map of the world, our highest price is paid high price for living with large carnivores is paid by countries which are not rich, which are developed countries, and some of these are losing very high part of their income. We talk about the problems of carnivores here in Lithuania. I'll show you, but these problems are nothing compared to African or Asian countries. So disparity between large carnivore protection and livestock farming, the challenge is, of course, to have a balance of farmers' negative exception and to use different strategies of carnivore deterrence, compensation for to farmers, and promoting their acceptance. My example is Lithuania, my home country, where both number 20 years ago was about 150, and 2 years ago was, let's say, more than 1,000. At least 100 families of wolves marked here in the map by numbers were found. So what is acceptance of these carnivores? How it changes with the increasing of numbers? If you look in the left, the bottom map, where it's graph, so in 2023, people which voted for reduction, it's a social questioning, which voted to reduction of number of carnivores, its number of respondents is increasing. But on the other hand, exterminating is not a good option comparing to the previous years. So what do I say about the behavior of wolves? If wolves kill cattle, respondents requiring killing them, unfortunately, is increasing, and translocation compared to former years is not now an option, and scaring away is not an option. But of course, some of people are voting for cohabiting with carnivores, and this is, I don't know, not a rural inhabitant. They are from the cities. So more people with increasing low density are thinking that they are not acceptable. Now we switch to ungulates. Our abundance of ungulates in Europe is a fact, is a current fact, and this is a consequence of their adaptation to agriculture. It's best expressed in wild boar. You see, it inhabits all Europe except the most northern part, of roe deer in the middle, of red deer. Distribution is also very wide, and moose is not an inhabitant of southern Europe, and European bison is quite a rare animal, but it's a good example. In Lithuania, it was my PhD, and adaptation of red deer in Lithuania to agricultural fields started already in the 80s. I show you a picture of forest, and these lines, they mean tracks of red deer. Red deer in the forest had an exceptional density of over 200 individuals per 1,000 hectares, and they lived not in the forest, but they used surrounding areas of agricultural land, as you see in the map. Surrounding is not a forest. There is completely agricultural land, and they used this agricultural land in all seasons, including winter. So adaptation was the same, I think, in the whole Europe, and abundance of ungulates is causing really problems because they damage agriculture fields and they make damage to forestry. As you see, the wild boar in corn, in maize, they can live here. They can spend all vegetation period inside maize fields. They didn't go out because they are very well covered and they have a perfect food. So they stay here. Moose, it's a good example, but they are, let's say, we are not making huge damage. But another problem is increased numbers of ungulates gives increasing numbers of ungulates collisions with vehicles. Like moose in north part, wild boar all across Europe, and roe deer all across Europe. These are quite big animals, so they produces very bad consequences for drivers and passengers. Our abundance of ungulates gives increased transmission of virus pathogens. So we need a sociological approach to cope, to get agreement of stakeholders, first of all, farmers with wildlife, including, first of all, carnivores and then big wild ungulates. So I will shortly tell you success story of European bison and agricultural landscapes of Lithuania. This country is unique in the restoration of this animal, which was nearly extinct 100 years ago. And because the restoration of European bison in Lithuania went in agricultural area. I see the map is switching. European bison, 3 herds are here, 1 herd here, and now we started the translocation and forming a new herd in the south of Lithuania, put in brown color, but I am speaking about 3 European bison which are not present in the whole world, mainly in Lithuania, Belarus, Poland, and in some other countries. So in Lithuania, bison started to set free from 1973, but their numbers didn't increase much until 2010, and only after 2013 it was a sudden increase, with numbers in decade nearly tripled. And problem is, of course, damage and negative acceptance of farmers, and the problems of translocation, because translocation of the part of the herd from central part of the country was really required. Here I show you a short video of European bison, small European bison herd spending time in central Lithuania, in a crop field, where you see they are not shy, they are in the open area in daytime, not only in nighttime. They eat here, when scared, they run here, they lie here, they trample field. So they are just living here. And final result is like this. As you see, damage is done. This is not the worst example, but example is very good to say. So we can understand why our farmers don't like this animal. But on the other hand, this majestic animal is a symbol of our past. So Lithuania is one of 3 main countries in the restoration of European bison in Europe. Now we switch to small farms. In Lithuania, smallest farm is about 600 square meters, so-called collective farms, and farms are less than 1 hectare or 1-2 hectares in our country is taking quite a good portion of agricultural land. So small farms are positive to mammals because, first of all, they give a very high mosaic of habitats. They also give them shelter, food, and breeding grounds. So these small farms are positively approached by rodents, insectivores, bats, and also larger species. This microhabitat promotes species richness. Also in small farms, there is reduced pesticide use and diversified crop system. And my next example show not only apple orchard, but also small farms we saw on right side. They are used by quite numerous different mammal species. Not talking about roe deer, which is one of the main animal evoked in orchards and in small farms and also in commensal habitats. Also red fox, marten, including even squirrels, which came to visit small commensal habitats. But in fact, in the top left corner, you see, yeah, I just wonder if you see the same as me, but there are wolves which are traversing agricultural habitats looking for their food. So, for the final note, to have successful mammal conservation strategies in farmlands, we need to take a balance of productivity and to balance it with biodiversity preservation. So we need several groups of actions. First is habitat management, to use it, to make it diverse. We should have hedgerows, woodlands, and wetlands incorporated in agricultural fields. Of course, we have an obstacles to use heavy machinery, but it creates a quite good habitat to all biological diversity, including mammals. There are different agri-environmental schemes to be used, but first of all, wildlife-friendly practices. We can make it. It's possible. Next, there are sustainable farming practices, reducing pesticides and fertilizers, promoting organic farming, and implementing positive crop rotation. When it goes to create wildlife corridors to ensure connectivity between agricultural patches and between non-agricultural patches, which is the most important, to let wildlife to have some safe environment to traverse between agricultural lands. Of course, monitoring and research. It's essential to have successful conservation strategies. And to my personal mind, it's really essential to have impact on stakeholders to raise their acceptance. And speaking about agriculture, to raise acceptance of farmers to wildlife. Despite the damage they've done, this balance between damage and acceptability could be managed. And yes, please write in this chart if you know what the mammal is. This I will not tell this, but he said thank you for listening to my presentation, and I also thank you, and it's the end of it.